So Chairman Fahiem of New Era Cleveland, we were founded in 2016. We are one of 23 chapters of New Era Nation. And so we have multiple chapters scattered throughout the country, Baltimore to LA. But our founding chapter started in Detroit. A lot of people may compare us to the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. There are a lot of similarities. That is the foundation that we stand on. But our premise is defining what organizing looks like in Black communities in today's era, which is why we're titled A New Era. And really what New Era represents is more than the day-to-day organizing, but a shift in mindset. We're ushering in a new era, a new way of thinking. And so, could you grab who is New Era and what we do? I always tell people like we are anything and everything at any given moment. Monday may look like a food distribution. Tuesday may be our homeless outreach. Wednesday we may be mentoring youth. We may be at the juvenile detention center. Thursday we may be outside doing a community patrol. Friday we may be hosting a warming center at our community clubhouse. And so it's really just adapting our services and our programs to the immediate needs of the people in our communities. And so being willing to step beyond those barriers that some organizations face when it comes to really providing services to people out in the community, and not being afraid to challenge systems. And that's really like when people think about New Era, that's really what comes to mind, is we're the organization that is on the forefront challenging systems. And so how it correlates to what we're talking about today in regards to repression, we reflect back on a lot of leaders, especially in the Black community. We think about leaders like Marcus Garvey, leaders that we've had during the Civil Rights Movement, and the amount of extensive repression that they face, pushing a specific agenda of empowerment, of solidarity, of self-sufficiency, and realizing that those same systems are operating and we're being faced and oppressed by those same things today in 2025. And so I'll transition to myself and how I was impacted. So back in 2022, a young girl, Abriana Jackson, 14 years old, at home in her bed. Her mother was sitting on the edge of the bed braiding her 11-year-old sister's hair. The house was shot up. This 14-year-old girl, straight A student, was hit in the head twice, 2 straight bullets, lost her life. And so I immediately responded, went to the neighborhood, and I was armed, and I was doing a patrol for the neighborhood. About 45 minutes before I got there, a shooting happened, a separate shooting happened at a repast. And this ended up, 7 people were shot at this repast. So imagine you go to a funeral to commemorate or celebrate or honor the life of a loved one who lost their life to gun violence. And as you're honoring the life of this loved one, you get hit with a straight bullet as well. So go to the neighborhood. I'm stopped by the police several times. And, you know, my conversation is just, have I broken any laws? Am I under arrest? Am I being detained? The answer was no, 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 no. Okay, so then I'm free to go. And then a sergeant, who isn't even on the scene at this time, already makes the call that I should be stopped, arrested, and detained. And so once he arrives on the scene, I'm surrounded by 19 police officers. They're called the NICE unit, the Neighborhood Impact Community Engagement Unit. And so they get out their vehicles, AR-15s, they got shields, there's a K-9. They requested a helicopter. I'm walking on foot on St. Clair. I'm not in a vehicle. There's no real exit strategy, no route that I can take to evade law enforcement. And so this verbal disagreement ensues. I am arrested and locked up on false charges. The first charge was inducing panic. The second charge was carrying a concealed weapon. Now, I just said I was openly carrying my firearm. So the false charge of carrying a concealed weapon, it just came out of thin air. And on the body cam footage, you can hear the officers laugh as they close the door, and Sergeant Henderson says, carrying a concealed weapon. Because they knew in that moment that it was a fictitious charge. So that was the joke. And so I'm locked up. I spent about 32 hours in the county jail. Charges were dismissed. Weeks later, my case is still taken before a secret grand jury, and they return a no bill. I filed a federal lawsuit against the city. It's mitigated. They pay out $85,000. And fast forward to this past August, we're performing a boycott at a local business that is a nuisance in our community, that does not care about the people in the community that it's supposed to serve. And children are having these car meets. If y'all been paying attention to what's going on through the city of Cleveland, like this past summer, the car meetups has been a big thing. It has been such a big thing that city council passed an emergency ordinance to help combat the car meetups. Rounded up all these people that have been organizing these different car meetups, and they're looking at very extensive jail time right now. So we performed a boycott at this gas station, and this gas station then claims that I demand money, I demand payment for us to provide security for this gas station. And so after the boycott happens, I'm arrested. Right now I'm facing 6 felony counts. The main charge is a felony extortion. They say I demanded $20,000 from this gas station. Kidnapping, breaking and entering, and some other charges. And because I have a firearm, each charge has a gun spec attached to it, which carries a mandatory minimum. So,
Kidnapping too?
Kidnapping.
Yeah.
Because of firearms.
Y'all held the store up.
Yeah, so they're claiming that we wouldn't allow anybody to leave or exit the store. Now this is the funny thing about it. Throughout this pre-trial, we had an evidentiary hearing, and they say this took place for 3.5 hours. For the 3.5 hours that this took place, they have no surveillance footage. And this is this site has a dozen high quality cameras with audio, 4K, the whole nine. And there's nothing that they provided thus far that really depicts what took place that day. So right now it's hearsay. So currently right now, 6 felony charges, 6 gun specs. Just with the gun specs alone, the time I'm looking at is 10 to 12 years. This is just the gun specs alone. This is not including any of the additional felony charges. Right now we have a motion on the table for dismissal. Who knows where it's gonna go, but as of right now, trial is scheduled for April 7th. And so I'm very encouraged. I'm looking forward to this process starting. But before that, I'll say this. What people never account for, like the arrest is like just the beginning, right? And for those of us that have been locked up and sit in the county jail, people look at the arrest and then they see you get out and they think that, okay, the situation is resolved somehow. They never account for the mental and emotional anguish that you endured during that time. If you've been in the county jail, raise your hand, please. Anybody in this room been in the Cuyahoga County Jail? The conditions. I spent 3 days. And to some people that may not seem like a lot of time. But the conditions in the county jail are beyond inhumane. The lack of respect, you're not viewed as a human being at all. And it was difficult. However, through that time of sitting in solitude, and it was Black August. So that was something for me that gave me like a peace of mind, because it was like, oh, the irony of who I am in today's society, and to be sitting in the county jail with these charges during Black August, it resonated with me on a spiritual level. So that was the one thing that kept me grounded throughout that duration of time. And so, yeah, just all the backlash that you face going through this process. Like, we look at the Black Panther Party and all of those that, like, people perceive being locked up as almost as a symbol of honor in this movement. And in my community, the Black community in particular, going to jail is like a rite of passage. It has become a rite of passage for us. And so it's been a constant struggle mentally, but I would not change anything that I did. If I could go back and do it, I would do everything the exact same way. Yeah, just the challenge of carrying that burden of being chosen for this era, that's something that I think is overlooked. And it's not a burden that I look at as if I don't want the honor of bearing those scars. And I just reflect back like on those that came before me that are still sitting in prison today. And the sacrifice is decades sitting in jail on trumped up charges. And it's almost as if once you're behind those walls, you are forgotten about. And so I remember reading somewhere about college students that would write to like leaders of certain movements that were in prison and send them words of encouragement and build relationships with them. And it's vital. And I'll say like the one thing that we can do collectively to combat all of that, because with me in particular, they thought that once they put those charges on me and I went to jail, that would be it. But the way that the community galvanized around me, and not just the black community, the Palestinian community, the LGBTQIA community, and others, the way that people galvanized around me sent a more powerful message back to the same people that put me in prison. And that message was, like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. You know, and even though some of those relationships weren't established until afterwards, like there has to be a powerful moment. Like something has to transpire for those that are not activated to get woken up. And then to realize like, okay, we have an obligation as a collective. Even though I'm not in the black community and I may not understand what's going on the ground level, I have a certain level of understanding that this person may be a community leader, and I recognize what they bring to this space. And so just to see people galvanize around me, that was the one thing that kept me so encouraged. And so I'm grateful to be here. I'm looking forward to continuing conversation with everybody. And then I'll pass it to Rameer.
Peace and love, family. I'm Rameer Askew, freshman at Cleveland State University, president and founder of New Era Scholars. And my journey started with New Era Cleveland about a year and a half ago now. It's quite interesting because growing up, I always imagined myself to be in college playing football. That's all I done outside high school. I would never picture myself to be here today, to be using my voice in this manner. But even though I would have a voice, because all I was taught was only sports. And that's what most of me and my peers are taught. Sports, rap, or you gotta get another way, and that's done from our brothers. So to be here today, standing in front of y'all, just had this opportunity to be something different. Something that may be considered corny, but we can show them it's not corny to stand for truth. But to get to how my journey started with New Era was my senior year of high school. It's towards the end. So I went to Gann Academy and played for Glenville, but my senior year I couldn't play because of my shoulder injury. And what that done for me was put me inside a dark space. And I was just looking for just any sign to crawl out of that dark space. And by the grace of God, New Era Cleveland, they had the Youth Family Development Center on Broadway in Bedford. And I seen it, I'm like, hold up, let me go see what's going on. And as I went there to see what's going on, it felt like nothing but home. Before like, the moment I got in there, kids happy day inside the back playing basketball, they all loving on each other, and it's like, it just felt welcoming. I never went into a space that felt that welcoming. Besides the family reunions, but even then I'd be a little nervous. So for me to be here in a space that I feel more welcome in than my own family space. Meaning when I go to reunions, I feel more safer here than I do at even family reunions. That's when it was a safe space. And from there, I became a mentee in there. I learned. I sat, learned, came as much as I can. I take buses all the way down from Glenville, back up to Bedford, just try to get there on time. I ain't making time all the time, but I tried to. But when I did get there, I was always poured into, loved on. And that helped me develop to be the young man I am y'all see before y'all today. And then from there, after graduating out of the program, being a mentee, I wanted to become a mentor. And at first, I was afraid, I'm not gonna lie. I never expressed this to them, I was afraid. Because I didn't know if I had it in me. You know, how we could walk with confidence, you know, but it's like when you actually start to do it, it's like it's another thing. So once they told me, like, you know, it's one thing to be poured into, but it's another thing to pour into others. And as they started to fill me up, I realized I can do this. If they can do it, why can't I? And as they started to fill me more knowledge, I started to feel that knowledge they gave passed down to me and to the young man and woman that was inside our programming. And then from there, they hit me at the most crucial part, I say, for a young man, transitioning from a boy to a man. And I felt like I transitioned at earlier age because of my circumstances, but I say for this position and for this specific position in high school, from going from high school to college, it caught me at the most critical moment of my life. Because I was going from high school to college without a father, without no brothers to love on me, to guide me. And Chairman and the President fulfilled that gap for me, and they offered me that guidance. They showed me that love, and they showed me how to maneuver in today's society. I got amazing parents, but my parents older, you know, and my mother's bedridden, so she can't see the things that are going on, how to maneuver in today's time. So I was just fortunate to have them to show me how to move in today's time. And then from moving from high school to college, I got in a bit of a challenge. As I started to really dive into this work, become more than just a mentor inside the program, and actually start to now get into the work when it comes to watching out, patrolling our community, loving our people, I started to get backlash from some of my mentors that I love. I would never think I'd get backlash from. So much so that one of my mentors threatened to take my scholarship away from the college I'm at now. And hearing that, it really shocked me. Like, this is somebody I looked at as a father figure that I love, that I would never think would do me this way, would never stop me from being my best self. And for this person to do that, it put me in another dark space. But I was fortunate to have them to help me get out of it. And not only that mentor, but so many other mentors that drifted out of my life because of me choosing this work now. Me choosing to be more than just an athlete. And that's, as far as repression, I never experienced that on the level of Chairman or anyone else here. But for me, that felt like repression when it came to someone that's supposed to love you and guide you and trying to stop you from being your best self. And ultimately, I chose me. And from that moment on, I started to have a conversation where I was really debating, like, is this meant for me? Am I supposed to be doing this work? And I would never forget this President of Austria. We sat down, we talked after there was one patrol, and I had so many others calling me, like, why are you out there, this and that? Like, we seen this and that. You shouldn't be out there, you a baby. Oh, I'm not. Y'all see me as a baby still, but I'm a young, grown man, and this is what I'm choosing to do. But something that President told me, and amidst me going through all that, she said, sit with yourself and choose what's ultimately best for you. And I sat with myself. And after sitting with myself, I wanted to see, how can I still do this work while protecting myself to get where I need to get to in college, while also still doing what I love to do? And that's what sparked the idea of New Era Scholars. So from there, I created a slideshow presentation of New Era Scholars. At first, just an idea. And then from that idea, I just kept building on and on. Started with the mission, the logo. And then as I actually got on campus, I was like, this is possible. And I wanted it to be possible. And then I realized you get on campus, everybody is inside their own pockets. And even before realizing that, I just realized I didn't even feel safe. What I mean by safe, I didn't feel safe enough to be myself. And I wanted to create a space for me to be myself unapologetically. With anyone having to question me, not question me for the wrong reason, question me for the right reasons. So that's what helped also inspire me creating New Era Scholars at CSU. Not only a space for me, but a space for other young men and women that's conscious, that want to fulfill their responsibility in life, and that want to serve the people. And a lot of times, the most conscious students, they are the ones that get looked over. They look at the most educated. The difference between being educated and conscious is, and I don't mean to offend anyone here, but a conscious student understands their responsibility. They're willing to fulfill their responsibility. Educated students, we may know our responsibility, but we may use our responsibility as an advantage to make money off the people. And we're not looking for young men and women trying to make money off the people, but no, support the people, put money in the people's pocket. And I felt like within every org, and it's not me throwing shade to them now, because I see, I can create an environment where it's like I can see their intentions now clearly. But when I first got there, I didn't feel like orgs was about that when it comes to actually serving people. Yeah, we spoke, great, talk about it, but I need to see it. I need to see it through your everyday actions, how you moving on the campus before you can get out there inside the community. And that's what really also helped me push, like, we gotta get New Era Scholars here. And it's like, imagine we had more Chairman Fahems coming to these colleges. This is what they were afraid of. So it's like, it had to be done. And then something Chairman always say is, not you, it's who. And it's like, that's also instilled that extra confidence of getting it done. And that's how New Era Scholars came about. And now, within our first year of even being here, I haven't even got a chance still now to even reflect on as much as will be done. But it hit me to last time when Chairman Andy was telling me, like, that's the first time Case Western came to CSU in a while. And I was like, I ain't know that. My intention was just to bring the people together. And from bringing the people together, that's what it created. It bridged that gap. And that's what I want to do here. Really bridge that gap between CSU and Case Western. We're right down the street from each other. When y'all stepping, we should be stepping with y'all. And when we stepping, y'all should be stepping with us. As long as it's for the right cause. And for what I've seen thus far, it's been for the right cause. And I appreciate all y'all for stepping and for sacrificing y'all time and your education just to step.
So our patrols really feel the need in our community. Our communities, it's crazy because our communities are over-policed, but you do not see the police actively doing any prevention work. And really what we see is like them going from call to call to call to call to call to call to call. And more so traffic stops in our communities as well. So we just took this initiative back in 2020 of like, let's go outside and just show an active presence in the community. Especially for the black men, because that is like the missing component in the black community. There are a lot of fatherless households in our community, and while we're speaking of repression, like that's the prison industrial complex. We wonder where our black men are. There they are, right there. And so, getting out, engaging with our people, human trafficking is like Cleveland, Ohio. Ohio, period, is leading the nation when it comes to human trafficking. I'm guessing because of the waterways and the freeway access, Ohio is like the foundation point for human trafficking. And so just showing an active presence in our community, we have a lot of prostitution, we have a lot of drug trafficking, a lot of gang and gun violence in our community. And so while we're out, we're building relationships. And more so than just even the southeast side of Cleveland, this year we moved around. And I'm gonna be honest, that's what really drew a lot of heat on us, was the influence that we had once we started to move around to these different communities. And the fact that we weren't getting any pushback from quote unquote bad characters in the neighborhood. Not far from here, of Heritage, a 12-year-old girl got shot, and I wanna say like maybe 2 or 3 days later, we popped out and we walked through the neighborhood. And at first, like, people was looking like, man, who are these people with all black on? They got guns coming through the neighborhood. But once they identified that it was us, a lady was like, hey, while y'all out here, can y'all go talk to them young boys at the end of the parking lot? And the way that they received us was like love, respect, and admiration. And we provided in that moment a sense of hope and inspiration, modelship, something that they could emulate, even with the firearms, because all these kids, they had guns on them. But what we provided in that moment was a way of conducting themselves in a positive way. Like, yes, you can still move with your firearm, but for example, you have no felonies. You technically can carry your gun, but your firearm not registered. Just a lot of things that people are doing that can easily get them tripped up. And so in that moment, we're having those conversations to provide some education. Okay, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? That way you can legally carry your gun. If you're going to have it on you anyways, and you technically can have it on you legally, if you're not a convicted felon, why don't you go through these processes to establish yourself in the right way? So, yeah, engagement, though. A lot of people focus on the guns, but our purpose while we're out is engagement. Spending time at a lot of these hotspots, gas stations, corner stores, and just to deter crime. And we got kids with us a lot of the time. And so for people in the community to see young black boys holding the door, pumping gas, giving them flyers, like, yeah, it was powerful. It was very powerful.
Yeah, I say definitely sit powerful. For me, it was like getting to see the other side of my city. So I grew up on St. Clair, and like I was always told to get in before the street lights to be safe. But to stay after the street lights and see like how the city operates, to see how kids same age as me out later than me at 1 o'clock in the morning, carrying guns bigger than mine, and it's like, excuse me, for them to see someone the same age as them, carrying it the right way, using it for the right way. Not using it to kill somebody, go to the block because they sitting there, they still on the same block as me. Not using it because I got beef with somebody because, oh, he didn't talk to my girl or this and that. Not using it because I can't fight and I want to just shoot somebody. But using it for the self-preservation of our people and modeling that to them. I found that very important, and I appreciate King for just having me alone doing that, because what it done was a lot of times I see a lot of my former teammates out there at the car meet, out there with guns. So it's like for them to see us doing it this way, and it's like it showed them something differently that they never seen. Because most times we only see guns inside the TV shows we watch, not showed us out the correct way. The movies, the music videos that they make. So it's not properly showing them how to use a firearm for the betterment of their people, but for the detriment of their people. So I just found it very powerful just to get that insight of like how our city operates after hours. You know, to know that there's babies even younger than me out there. And it's like just to give them that sense of security and just to let them know like we're here for you. We're here to stop your fun, we're here for you. You know, just to see the relief it brings them. It lets them, one, know that they can feel safe, but it also keeps them mindful of how to operate now after hours too. And that's it, like educating them. Like a lot of them didn't know about you can be this age and carry a firearm, but it's ways to go about it. You gotta have the proper paperwork. So now for them to get prepared to have the proper paperwork so that way they won't get jammed up inside the future. And another thing I took away from our patrols that I absolutely loved is just how you have some bad nights, meaning like you have some people that may not go straight into it, but once they do understand like why you out there, man, the love is real. Like the love is real. Like they even get out their car, Black Power, yeah, like it be real. And it's like especially for the old heads. We had a lot of old heads that pull up to a gas station and be nervous. They see us as like I see y'all here, I feel more safe than ever with y'all being here, because when y'all not here, other things be going on. So it's like for them to know now we're not there for the gas station, we'll be there for y'all. I find that powerful just to give them that sense of comfort. Especially have our older queens out there. And it's like having them get the door open. It's sad that our queens ain't used to get the door open for them unless somebody's flirting for them. So for them to see a young man and young woman open the door for them just to love on them, not in an intimate way, but just to truly love on you and reassure that you are a queen, you are a king, it's a different type of happiness. So for the night patrols, for me, I'm still embracing it. And I'm looking forward to more night patrols and learn more, but I love it thus far. Like, learning and seeing, it also gave me an understanding of like how the rest of the young men that I once used to judge think. Like I just simply having a conversation, understand like how their mindset is. So I'm not quick to judge, but I'm quick to understand now. So I love the night patrols. They give me a sense of understanding my people better that I ain't understand before, because I was always told that not be out late, stay away from young men that do and young ladies that do. But to understand the ones I didn't understand before. But to see how much safer our people feel just with our presence. So I love the patrols.
There are two prongs to this crisis response team. There's this security presence component, but then there's also this social service component that is providing support and follow-up care for families that are impacted by crisis or by trauma. And that's the part, to me, that is the most important. Yes, we can pull up and we can address immediate safety need, but how are we following up to support that family to break those cycles that continue to perpetuate? Because what the police do is pull up and somebody go to jail. How the actual situation itself is provided a solution is never discussed. It's never factored into the equation. Somebody's getting cuff slapped on them and they're getting carted off. But for us, it's more so about how can we interject ourselves into this crisis and provide support for this entire family. And that may be a lot of things. It may be housing support, utilities, they may need food, those social services, they may need somebody to hold their hand and walk them through this process of quote unquote case management. So providing all these things like directly at the doorstep of the family. So that's the premise of what we're building on Buckeye with this community, the Love Project Movement Community Clubhouse. Changing the way that policing is done in our communities. Yeah, so now when things are happening, the first phone call isn't 911. It'll be 216-302-8627. I'm calling New Era because I got an issue with my neighbor. Or this dude over here, he tripping. He keep putting his hands on me. Or my daughter keep running away. Yeah, we don't need the police pulling up, taking that baby down to juvenile detention center. Let us pull up and have a conversation with her and get her into programming. But also provide support for that mom and dad who may have issues communicating with that child. And so, yeah, just a holistic system of care.
So for the political education, it's expanded now. Like, I went from not knowing anything about how the city operates, how to vote, or anything about how the government operates. And now knowing now, so much so, now I want to share that with my peers. And that started with inside the Cave of Adullam, inside the mentoring program. And I think that's how we're going to continue to expand it, because now it's not just at Buckeye, now we got it at CSU. So now they're pouring into me, they're pouring to others, and now we're pouring to others at CSU, others from CSU from different cities, pouring back into their people. They come back to this city, and we're educating the youth now about how to really operate and how to vote, the laws, and what to do correctly, understanding them. Because a lot of times they say to go vote, but they don't educate us like what to vote on about these bills and these laws. So I learned that this is my first year voting, and I learned that based off what I learned from them, to always be critical and question everything. I mean, for me questioning, I better understood the bills I was voting on. So I think to answer that question, we're expanding that now, just from it is just the beginning, and it's gonna get even bigger with the next batch of children. Because now they have not someone that's, sorry, I want to say it like this, someone that's older like that's in the 30s, but now they have a 19-year-old that's, I'm sorry. But like,
kids.
for me, it's like he's around the same age still, but it's a level of respect. A level of respect. But like, we gonna say But now they have like someone closer to age to really relate to and show like, this is the product of when you actually take time out to learn it, to want to be taught it. So now you have someone that actually that's a true product of to show you like, wow, it's possible. So I say they already expanded it with me, and now it's up to us, the youth, to expand it amongst each other and keep it going.
And if I could just elaborate on what Rameer said, so one of the big things that we're doing this year is expanding our community brunches. And a part of the community brunches is training community, right? Training community on weapon safety, de-escalation, self-defense, political, financial education, investment. We'll have healing circles, town hall to discuss, okay, if gun violence is a challenge in our communities, how can assets, meaning people in this room, create a solution? And then giving them the resources and the support to actually execute that. And then continue every month focusing on a different target of how community is creating their own solution. So education is going to be huge within our brunches, but then politically, especially this year as it is at a local election, one, us finding all of the people who want to run for city council that are grassroots run and putting them all together into a people's ballot. Right, so we'll be configuring all the, one, we'll be doing a lot of political education just so that people know what city council and all that stuff does. But two, just like you go to the polls and you'll see these democratic ballots, we're gonna have those before the people, what the people chose. So really just creating strategies on how do we change and shift the power structure within Cleveland, especially with the city council, and then how do we educate our people to get involved into city council and other mayors and all the, especially judges. Why is it important for you to not just vote for the president, but you need to vote for your judges, your city council, your executive, all those things. So, all those things. So, just really creating that space for learning.
And yeah, this year we're very intentional about our level of involvement in this local political, because this is a pivotal year. This is probably one of the most pivotal years in the last few generations. We have a great opportunity to shift the political landscape here in the city of Cleveland. And a lot of you guys that are here on campus at Case are technically, if you are registered to vote from this campus, you're a Ward 6 resident, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so you guys have, this is a great voter base right here on this college campus. So what are we doing on our day-to-day to galvanize people to ensure that they're showing up at the polls and that they're educated on who are we voting for as a collective? And one thing I broke down the numbers in Ward 4, now the new Ward 3. In the last local election, let's say for example, in one particular precinct, there are 900 people registered to vote. Only 100 or 89 are turning out to vote on election day. So what can we do to galvanize the other 700, 800 people to ensure that they're showing up on election day to vote for a candidate? And so this summer, from spring to summer to fall, we are focusing on community engagement. So that's going door to door and being intentional about building relationships with people. So when we vote, we're voting in a block. We're all voting as a collective. And that's one thing that we've been very intentional about building with PSL and within the Palestinian community. How are we shifting our weight around politically to reallocate the power. So we don't have to keep showing up to City Hall to advocate for different issues with these same people that's turning around and ignoring us. But then they want to show up when it's election year and get out in our communities and then try to shake hands and kiss babies. And so it's about raising up our own candidates as well. That's a big thing with us. And as we continue to grow as an organization, as we continue to grow within our youth academy, that's going to be intentional focus for us, is to raise up our next set of leaders. I'll say this, is that we all have a moral and spiritual obligation to connect ourselves to something bigger than ourselves. And again, like it may seem like it may seem as a daunting or intimidating task, but to really push change, you're gonna. My own father, and similar to Rameer, mentors that I've had in my life have found issue with me committing myself to doing this work. And I've stayed steadfast and grounded on my commitment to it, irregardless of who is around me or who decides to be present or who decides to leave. And so, again, I challenge you all to do the same thing, get involved with the work, either here on campus. I want there to be a certain level of cohesion, right, between our organizations, between our communities, outside of our organizations, between our communities, because what impacts us impacts you. What impacts you impacts us. And we're here, like when you guys get ready to go to court, we're going to be front and center. When you guys are facing certain things, we're going to be front and center. And so, yeah, that's how we shift for this next generation. So Messiah, when he's facing repression, there's an entire community of people that are showing up as allies, as family, to be present for him. So that's the goal for us.
All we got is each other.
That's it. And all we need is each other.
Yeah, that's it.
All we need is each other.
I would love to invite y'all over to CSU. And I want to continue to come back here with more CSU students. So that way we can see how we can support one another, not only on campus, but inside the community. One thing that they spoke on in our last panel discussion that was just very enlightening was, it's one thing to do as an organization, but we want to create it where our babies grow up with each other. Where it's not, oh, that's a Palestinian baby, that's a black baby. Like, no, we're family. We're just gonna love each other. We don't see the color, we just see us as moving as one. So that's what we want to create here on the college level. Yeah,
That's really what they're afraid of.
so we want to create that from even beyond the college level. And I would love to start that this year. To really, and we don't gotta wait on somebody to invite us. No, we got y'all here, y'all got us there. And I would love to collaborate and bring us together. So when we speaking on issues, speak on it together. They don't gotta feel alone to go through this alone. They got our support, and we don't gotta feel alone. Like we going through this alone, we got y'all support. So I thank y'all for having us. And yes.